Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Joe's Own Tech. In this video, we're going to dive into a vSphere High Availability and Responsibilities of Fault Domain Manager. vSphere High Availability. vSphere High Availability is a feature of VMware's vSphere virtualization platform that provides automated failover and high availability for virtual machines in the event of host failures. It ensures that critical VMs continue to run without disruption, even when the underlying physical host experiences hardware or software failures. Key features and aspects of vSphere HA include host monitoring. vSphere HA constantly monitors the health and status of all ESG hosts within a cluster. It can detect various types of failures, such as hardware failures, network issues, and operating system crashes. Failover capability. When vSphere HA detects a host failure, it automatically initiates a failover process. Shared storage. For vSphere HA to work effectively, the ESG hosts in the cluster need to have access to shared storage. Isolation response. vSphere HA includes isolation response settings. In the event of a network partition, where a host loses communication with other hosts, you can configure whether VMs on the isolated host should be powered off or left running. Responsibilities of Fault Domain Manager. In a VMware vSphere High Availability cluster, the Fault Domain Manager is responsible for coordinating the election of the primary host, which is also known as the master host. The primary host is the central coordinator of the HA cluster and is responsible for managing host and VM monitoring, failover decisions, and overall cluster stability. Here's how the FDM primary host election process works. Initial election. When an HA cluster is formed, there is no predetermined primary host. The election process begins when the cluster is created or when the current primary host fails or becomes isolated. Host monitoring. The FDM agents running on all hosts within the cluster monitor the health and responsiveness of their respective hosts. This includes checking for host failures, isolation events, and network connectivity. Isolation response. If a host is isolated, meaning it cannot communicate with the rest of the cluster but can communicate with its VMs, the FDM agent on that host triggers the isolation response. The isolation response ensures that VMs on the isolated host remain operational. Election criteria. The FDM agents participate in the election process by considering specific criteria for the primary host role. These criteria include the host's management network connectivity, the state of VMs it is running, and its ability to reach data stores. Host priority. Each host in the cluster is assigned a priority value, which can be configured by the administrator. The priority value represents the host's suitability for the primary host role. Master host election. When the FDM agents detect that the current primary host has failed or is isolated, they initiate the election process to select a new primary host. The FDM agents communicate with each other to negotiate and determine the most suitable candidate for the primary host role. The candidate host with the highest priority and best overall suitability based on the defined criteria is elected as the new primary host. Thank you again for watching today's video, and we'll see you in the next video. Please consider subscribing to our channel by clicking that subscribe button below.